Welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I'm Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. This was a question I got yesterday from one of my students, and it is, what is the 70% rule? What is the 70% rule, and what do we use it? So a couple of things. So in general, you might see online that the 70% rule is that you want to buy a property at 70% of the ARV, the after repaired value, minus repairs. Now, let's talk about what that means and why it's different in New York. So in general, right, so in most of the country where median prices are like $150,000, that would mean that if a property's ARV is $150,000, you would buy it for 70% of that, which is $105,000. Let's say you needed $25,000 in repairs, you'd buy it for $80,000, right? 70% of the ARV minus repairs. So a couple of things. First of all, in other parts of the country, where the median prices are lower, the closing costs are also lower. So you can probably buy and sell a house for around $1,000. And the idea is that in that 30% of cushion, you are going to be able to make a profit and pay all your closing costs on the buy, closing costs on the sale, and your holding costs. Now in New York, it's a little bit different because our prices are much higher, certainly in Long Island. So my average sale price is around $500,000. So if my ARV is $500,000, let's think about what 30%, that's $150,000. I'm also going to have more closing costs and more holding costs. But my general rule, how I use this, is that I try to buy it around 70% of ARV minus repairs, and then I try to sell to a rehabber at 80% of ARV minus repairs. This actually came from Brad Chandler, he's a good guy out of the DC area. And his prices and my prices are similar. Now, you're saying, how do a rehabber buy at 80%? So a couple of things. First of all, there are parts of the country right now that are so hot, and have been for a while, like Phoenix, Vegas, Dallas. Rehabbers were already buying at 80% or 83% of ARV. But in New York, because it's such a big cushion, if it's $100,000, that 20%, that's enough for a lot of people to say, okay, I'm going to make some money, even if I have to pay for larger closing costs and maybe bigger holding costs. The holding costs are more if you're borrowing money because the interest costs are higher. Obviously, interest costs are going to be a lot higher on a $400,000 loan than they're going to be on a $80,000 loan. So that is how I use the 70-80% rule. But you've got to understand, it's a guideline, right? There are times where I can't find anybody to buy a property. There are times where I'm making twice. I'm wholesaling a property now for $60,000. I thought I was going to make 30. Now, that could be for a lot of different reasons. And remember that ARV and repair number is something that's subjective. The guy's repairs might have been less than mine. The ARV might have been more than mine. People go into this and think this is very formulaic, but the truth is all the numbers you're using can be completely different than the numbers you're using to sell it to somebody, right? I've had deals where people have asked me what the ARV is, and I've told them, they looked at me like I was crazy, and they said it's much higher. I'm not going to be one to correct them. So I honestly believe as a wholesaler, the less information you give, the better. I used to estimate repairs, I used to estimate ARV, and now I just tell them to do your own work, do your own math. So that's really how it works. So in essence, I sort of do use the 70% rule, but not really, because I wholesale properties where the ARVs are $700,000. So maybe I don't, and I averaged around $30,000 in my wholesale fees. So maybe I don't go to 70, maybe I go to 75, and that 5% is enough for me to make, right? I'll buy it at 75% of ARV minus repairs, and then try and sell it to a cash buyer at 80%, because that's still $35,000 on a $700,000 ARV. So these are not steadfast rules; they're guidelines, right? And when you're starting out, you may be okay to make $15,000 on a wholesale fee, so you may go higher. But the key really to this business is to buy at discounts, right? And to deal with sellers who need to sell it, who understand that they maybe not need to sell it at a discount, right? That's the thinking. We all think we're going to get into this business, we're going to get somebody on the phone who's going to go, I need to sell in the next 2 hours. It's usually not the case. It's someone who understands that they're going to trade some of their proceeds for convenience and certainty. That's what we provide them. We provide them convenience. They don't have to show it 100 times. They don't have to clean it. They don't have to deal with maybe issues that they'd have to deal with for a retail buyer. And certainty, because you go into contract with really no outs. You got to close. You got to either sign the contract or you got to close. And people that understand that are going to sell, and can afford to, right? If they can't owe more than you need to pay, which I just had yesterday, a situation like that. So that's how it works. So you have people that understand that selling to an investor, there's a reason why they're selling to an investor. They understand they're going to give up some of their money for it, and then you need to buy at a deep enough discount that you can wholesale. Remember, for the first 4 years I did this, I bought at auction. I was never able to wholesale because I wasn't buying cheap enough. But since 2017, 17, 18, 19, 20, almost 21, yeah, for about 4 or 5 years, I've been going direct to seller. So I highly recommend that. I think anybody starting wants to wholesale has to go direct to seller. I don't see any other way. People call me all the time and say, I found a deal on Zillow. Very, very rare that that's going to work. But I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in seeing how I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you like these videos, please click like. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, comment. Any questions, any topics you want me to cover, I'm happy to cover. Thank you very, very much for watching.